This is the Hidden Killers Podcast with Tony Brueski.
Featuring defense attorney, Hidden Killers daily contributor, and host of the Defense Diaries podcast, Bob Motta.
Another day of reckoning in court for Alex Murdaugh, facing the victims that he wronged through his financial crimes, and also going and giving his own speech and response to some of those individuals who made their victim impact statements to him. Watched a little bit of that. Joining me to discuss, defense attorney Bob Motta, host of the podcast Defense Diaries. This has been an interesting one. I did get a chance to see some of the ramblings of Alex Murdaugh, because that really is kind of what it was today in court. Some of the highlights that I picked up was he still denies the murder. That was very clear. He was talking to one of his friends who he wronged, and I guess the friend in his victim impact statement also mentioned that Alec was a murderer. He wanted to make it very clear that he was not a murderer. And there was just some also interesting pushback on some folks. Some of the Satterfield family, one of them had mentioned that Gloria had helped raise the children. Alex seemed to have issue with that, wanting to point out that very much it was him and Maggie that did it, but they were all very close. It was just bizarre. It was a bizarre response. He was seemingly taking responsibility for some, but at the same time wanting to correct people on technical things of how he felt, and then wanting everybody to come to the cell sometime to have a nice little kumbaya to make Alec feel better. Disconnected from reality at the best. What's your thoughts, Bob?
I mean, if they were to have like court trials in the Twilight Zone, this is what it would look like. Yeah, man. Like everything about that case is just, you know, between that case and Delphi, it's been like, and Adelson, frankly, those three cases, and Vallow, like this whole year in terms of the trials that we've seen has been like none other. And like Murdaugh is, yeah, you know, I mean, with the financial crimes, it's like you said, you know, he got up and he basically said, look, you know, I have obviously admitted to stealing the funds. I may disagree with the narrative of why and how it happened, but I'm certainly admitting that I took my client's funds. So, I mean, at least from that respect, he had a mea culpa, you know, but yeah, what I found way more interesting was kind of the stuff that you were talking about, kind of this back, and some of them were, I can't remember which gentleman, like one of his former clients, was just like ripped my heart out, man. The guy was like, man, I trusted you. I gave you everything. You know, it was like, it was so powerful because it was so real, you know, and it was like, it was gut wrenching. Like that was so real. Like that moment in time when like hearing like the actual, and it's different because like, you know, these folks are talking about money, you know, so you're hearing the other side of it. Typically we're hearing victim impact statements when it's involving the loss of a loved one, you know, which are obviously incredibly devastating, but in a much different way. It's a much different type of loss, in my estimation, a much worse loss. There's nothing that would compare to losing a loved one. You know, money comes and goes, but you know, but to hear like the impact that you knew in your mind that he was taking money from people that just needed this money, that had no way, like if they were catastrophically injured and they were, you know, couldn't like work for themselves and couldn't earn income. They were living like hand to mouth. Yeah. And, you know, this guy just came in, swooped in and stole all their dough, you know, just ruining their lives. You know, it's like, it's devastating, you know? So it's like, yeah, he's a bad dude, man. You know, it's like, I've been, you know, it's always been my thing with the murder side of it that, yeah, like I honestly think that the dude hired a couple of guys. I think he was on the property when it happened. I think he was overseeing it. I think it was his intent to take the guns away with them, not to leave it with these two morons that he hired to kill his family. But it makes him as if he pulled the trigger. People seem to they get real upset when I say it. I'm like, but like, you don't understand. If you hire somebody to kill your family, it's as if you did it yourself. It's the same exact thing.
There's no arguing that he wasn't at the place at that point in time. So this whole, I would never have killed Maggie and Paul. Maybe you didn't kill Maggie and Paul. Maybe you certainly were there. But it seems he has a way of compartmentalizing everything to such a bizarre, scary extent that he could have been there. And well, I didn't pull the trigger, so I go down this the same way he can say these things.
Technically, you didn't.
Yeah,
but technically you did.
Well, it's the same way where he can argue to the Satterfield family, like, look, me and Maggie are the ones who raised the kids. Technically, certainly she had an impact, but it was all me. And like, you realize what they're saying to you? I mean, and that's a death right there. I mean, yes, this is financial, but part of it even was involving a death of Gloria Satterfield. I thought it was really interesting, one of the points that he made, and I almost was wondering, is this a Freudian slip that he just gave to us in court, where he said, I'm paraphrasing here, but it was to the effect of, it came with a good heart when I made up the claim about the dogs tripping Gloria. Made up the story is what he said. Made up the story about the dogs. So what is the story? Because as far as I know, that has been the official story this entire time.
That was definitely the entire, like, the only thing that I could think him trying to like clarify that somewhere down the road is like the claim to the insurance company. You know what I mean? Like,
so just falling down someone's stairs.
I don't know if that was the same thing that they told law enforcement, but like that was definitely when he filed suit and he got the money. I think that was the story of what had happened at the house. But yeah, you're right, man. I mean, it certainly begs the question, well, if not that, then what happened? Because we've heard various theories that Paul pushed her. And I've heard all kinds of different theories on what happened to her.
Yeah, because if that is true, then that's a whole other issue. But the thing is, with this, I don't think an insurance company, not an insurance company, I don't know, but I would think if your housekeeper tripped down the stairs just because it was slippery, or the dogs tripped her, it's still the same claim. It doesn't matter if it was a dog or if there was a sock on the stairs. Yeah.
Right. A raccoon's like scurried across. A big opossum.
Exactly.
Big opossum just hanging out on the stairs. Yeah. I mean, right. Exactly. It's either inadvertent or it was vertent.
Yeah. So what are we covering up here? If both really mean the same
with
thing.
Intent or it was an accident, one of the two. It's like it's either or situation. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, like I'm just ready for that guy to go away and get out of my face. Like the whole, like I know we're going to talk about Becky Hill next, but it's like that case just never goes away either, man.
No,
it's like,
well, and the scary thing is with all of this, did the math last week when we learned about what the sentencing was going to be, 27 years served concurrently with the murder charges. And if the murder charges stick, he's never getting out. But if those don't stick, Alex Murdaugh could be free in his 70s, in all reality. And I noticed they, like, even Creighton kind of walked back a little bit of he'll never be out of jail today. Like, he'll be there for a very long time. Why did the state give him such a deal on this? Because if you added everything else up, he would have been in there for more than 1,000 years. Everybody thought this is a slam dunk. He's never getting out no matter what. Not really the case. 27 years for all of this chaos. That's it? Really?
Yeah, I think that Creighton, at the end of the day, in terms of like the cost benefit analysis of like having to go to trial on this thing, I think he feels very secure that he's never getting out of there on those murder charges.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it's like, it would have to get overturned. The odds of that are like astronomical.
I don't know.
Like, even if he's given a new trial, even if this Becky Hill thing turns out to be, like the court says, oh my God, you just cannot have your bailiff talking to the jurors. I don't care what effect it had on them.
Yeah.
We understand. Because the state's response to that in terms of that thing was very clear. Every juror said, look, we didn't listen to what she said. We listened to everything that the judge said, and they said all the right things.
Yeah.
It's like, the problem is that the defense has the burden of showing that it would have changed the outcome. Otherwise, it's harmless error, and like you're not going to be able to do it unless we invented a time machine to be able to go back to different time frames in order to poll the jury, like right before Alex Murdaugh testifies and right before they went out to the property. And, the times that we know that Becky was talking the jurors up and check their pulse in terms of what they were thinking at that moment in time.
Yeah,
because subconsciously, like they have no idea what they were thinking in that time. Like they have no idea. You can't unhear what you heard, and you really don't know subconsciously whether or not that affected you in terms of your way of thinking. It's like you can't know it.
Want to listen ad-free? Want advance access to all of our interviews before anyone else?
Become a True Crime Today Premium Plus subscriber on Apple Podcasts.
You get every episode commercial-free.
So you can binge on true crime
Until you can binge no more.
Search True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts now, or go to our podcast page and sign up now.
More of the Hidden Killers podcast next.